The year is 1860, a day in the life of a 16-year-old. 6 o'clock, wake up. 6:15, get dressed and brush teeth. 6:45, eat breakfast. 7 o'clock, walk to school. 7:30, English, 8:15, math, and so on and so forth. Sound familiar? Maybe that's because a school day in the life of a 16-year-old in 2018 is the exact same. That's disturbing. The fact of the matter is that our school systems haven't changed in over a century, but every other aspect of society has. For example, people go to work in a car, not a horse and buggy, and we communicate by texting rather than writing out letters in our finest cursive. To put it plainly, the world just isn't the same. So today, we're going to be applying the Rotary four-way test to examine our dysfunctional school system and, more importantly, to develop an applicable solution to the problem at hand. So first, is it true that our school systems are failing to prepare kids for the future? Well, our current model of education was developed during the Industrial Revolution to train kids for their futures working in factories. In fact, this model is most commonly referred to as the factory model and finds its origins in the late 18th century in East Germany, where King Frederick of Prussia initiated it to teach children obedience. Americans loved this, hailing it as the most efficient way known to teach literacy on a large scale, and used it as a means to industrialize the education process. In 1916, the book Public School Administration described schools as factories, in which the raw products are to be shaped and fashioned into products to meet the various demands of life. The children, the raw products, attend school each day, where there they are subjected to, pun intended, a variety of different lessons for their improvement and betterment. They move through the day as if on an assembly line. First, a group of 28 to 35 students attend chemistry for 45 minutes, where Miss Frizzle stands at the front of the room imparting her wisdom on them. She talks, they take notes, or they complete a lab in which they follow a specific recipe yielding a specific anticipated result. At the end of the 45 minutes, the students move on to the next class, where the next teacher further refines the raw products with his or her contributions of expertise. After 12 years, the process is considered complete, and the students, once unrefined and unpolished, are now prepared with an arsenal of knowledge, which they will use in their roles as productive factory workers. Standardized, predictable, efficient, educated. Next, is it fair to judge people with different talents by the same standards? Well, think about how our schools determine the quality of their product, their students. As students, we receive a letter grade that communicates the quality of our academic performance. An A for excellence and an F for failure. Do you know what else receives an A for excellence? Your steak. Or hopefully, your steak. That's right. We also use the letter grading system to grade our meat, coming out of a meat packing factory. Taco Bell's meat earns a D, just in case you were curious. Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Well, in this world of global competition and innovation, we need people who think critically and creatively more now than ever before. Luckily, kids are naturally curious and creative. But rather than tapping into this creativity, the school systems often squash it by putting kids against each other to compete for good grades. So no, I think it's fair to say that our school systems are not promoting goodwill and better friendships. And finally, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Well, we're no longer a society of factory workers. In fact, the manufacturing industry currently employs less than 9% of Americans. And according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, the list of the top 20 industries with the most projected job losses over the next 10 years, 13 of them are in the manufacturing sector. So Where are Americans making their money if they aren't making things? In computers and consulting and medicine. Professions that require complex analytical thinkers, effective communicators, and lifelong learners. Additionally, the World Economic Forum predicts that over 65% of our current elementary school students will perform jobs that do not yet even exist. Think about it. 10 years ago, Apple put out the first iPhone, and before that, there were no app developers, no Uber drivers, no cloud computing specialists, and no bloggers. Knowing this, is our factory model of education preparing kids for the future or for the past? Sir Ken Robinson, international advisor on education and author of the most watched TED Talk in history, titled "Do Schools Kill Creativity?", emphasizes an education where creativity is as important as literacy. Rather than simply developing the traditional competencies, schools must aim to educate the whole child. Now, that's a pretty tall order for our teachers, the shapers of the future, who are woefully underpaid. Doctors make an average of $133,000 more per year than teachers for doing a job that is arguably just as important. Doctors care for the health of their patients, and teachers care for the health of theirs. And while students create only 20% of the current population, they create 100% of the future. And right now, America's youth are the victims of educational malpractice. And no, it's not the teacher's fault. It's the fault of a broken system that has failed to adapt with the times. American education expert John Taylor Gatto once said that genius is as common as dirt. But we suppress this genius because we don't yet know how to manage a society of educated men and women. Well, the solution, I think, is simple and glorious. We let them manage themselves. Thank you.